Good evening. God bless you. Welcome back. I am Zach. Zach, I am. This is the one about diabetes. So, I want to just tell my story for entertainment purposes only. If you have diabetes, always consult your medical professional before making any changes to your diet. And everything I'm about to say is my story, and it's intended just for your entertainment to hear what I did about diabetes. So, having said that, my mother had passed away in 2008 from cancer, and it was pretty tough to get over. But your parents are going to die before you. She was only 58 years old, and she ate pretty well her whole life, but she was a heavy smoker, and she was always pretty fit. But she had gained some weight as she got older, and um, I don't pretend to know how cancer takes over some people and doesn't take over other people who do the same, live the same lifestyle and have the same behavior. But that didn't crush me that bad. It's something that everybody, if you're lucky and you don't die before they do, that you're going to endure through life. But then in 2015, my younger brother had passed away from diabetes in October of 2015, and this is when I was just at the same time, I was like at my max weight ever. I was like at 315 pounds. And, he never went to the doctor. He was, he was kind of a loner guy, and he smoked heavily too. And he never worked out, and he never ate right. And he was overweight as well. And, by the time he found out, he was gone pretty quickly. And that crushed me. That I was devastated. I'm barely keeping it together right now to even talk. But I want to get this video out because I feel like it's important. Sometimes it sucks, but that you need some kind of motivation like that to kick yourself in the ass. But, I was devastated, but I was more afraid. I was like, oh my God, my younger brother died. I'm going to die now. And I just had this gut wrenching pain in my stomach he passed away on, it looks like, the night before Halloween. And so November, December, January, for 3 months. And I had told my doctor that my younger brother passed away, and she told me, or I think it was a man at that time, he told me, um, you better schedule a colonoscopy and all that, and because that's what my brother had, colon cancer. Anyway, and it spread to his whole body. Um, I had this just pain in my stomach, like I'm gonna die. I just know it, and I didn't have diabetes yet, so I knew I was overweight, and I knew my dad has had diabetes for since he was in his early 30s, and at the time I would have been like 42 or 44, something like that, 44, and I was very afraid, and I was living in fear of that my life is not going to last much longer, and this pain in my stomach. So I scheduled the appointment, but I couldn't get it scheduled for a while. It was out a few months, and as I was just stressing and worrying and just feeling like I have it too. I feel like that added stress. If you've ever done any, if you're diabetic or you're pre-diabetic, which my doctor had told me I was pre-diabetic for 10 years, but I never really knew what it meant. I was just like, oh, I'm not diabetic. I should have jumped on it then. But anyway, if you are in that category and don't wait, like it's going to be bad. So I mean, if you're waiting for some traumatic event to happen to finally react and do something to take care of yourself, I encourage you from the bottom of my heart, from the strongest will of my spirit, to tell you to do something about it now. Don't wait until you are 315 pounds of just about ready to drop dead. Drinking and smoking and being overweight is just, you're not going to live long. So as I'm waiting for the appointment to come for the colonoscopy, I just can't stay awake after work. I get home from work at 3 o'clock, 3:30. When I get off at 3, I drive home. My house was about 40 minutes away from work at the time, and I just pass out on the couch immediately every day for weeks, and I don't know what's going on. And then I notice I'm urinating just multiple times, in a row and over, and I start counting, and I'm like, my God, this is. I look it up, and it's like, oh, it's signs of diabetes. So one of my coworkers is like, Zach, you got to just make a doctor's appointment and go get checked out. So I'm like, you know what? You're right. I just picked up the phone and it was just right there at work, called my clinic, got an appointment. They say, come in and do the blood work. And then, so I went in and did the blood work like the next day and then had the appointment with the doctor. No, the doctor I didn't even have the appointment with the doctor yet. I did the blood work one day and the doctor called me back. It was like within a day or two. I think it might even have been the next day. And I was sitting at work. I was on lunch. I had it was January 23rd. I weighed 315 pounds on that January 1st. I remember that because it was like New Year's resolution time, and I got on the scale right out of the shower. Hadn't eaten yet, went to the bathroom, shower, no clothes on, get on the scale, and that bad boy was 315.0. So I started reducing my calories and, trying to lose some weight. So by January 23rd, I had already dropped down to about, I think I'd already lost about 15 pounds. So maybe even 20. I think I was maybe 295. So anyway, my doctor calls me. I'm sitting on the table in the lunchroom, and I'm eating a sandwich or something with carbs in it. I remember it wasn't a great meal, but I had lost like 20 pounds. So I thought, all right, I'm doing good. I'm heading in the right direction. And the female doctor calls, Zach, hi, it's your doctor. I think I can, I confirmed our suspicions because I kind of knew what it was, and so did she. She's like, yep, you're type 2 diabetes. Your A1C is 11.2, which if you don't, man, do something. Look that up. I don't even want to tell you because that is super crazy high, So January 23rd, 11.2. Okay. I wasn't devastated or nothing. I was like, you know what? I don't have colon cancer. I was like, I hadn't had my appointment yet, but I was like, okay, this is from diabetes. The way I'm feeling so shitty is from diabetes. And that gut wrenching pain in my stomach actually kind of started to subside. And I don't remember, it was a few weeks or something after that, I had my colonoscopy and I was clean as a whistle, which I was super happy about. I was actually happy to have diabetes. I was like, you know what? I wasn't going to quit drinking. I wasn't going to quit eating right. I quit eating bad food. I needed this as a kick in the ass. So I already knew what to do. And this is where I'm telling you, this is just my story. If you have diabetes, don't do this. Talk to your doctor, do your own research. But I'm just telling you for how I did it. I already knew what to do. I wasn't on shots. My doctor wrote me the prescription for the pills. Well, let me back up. So I'm at the table. I'm eating. My phone rings. Doctor, okay, I got diabetes. I put my food down. I threw it away. Okay. And then I immediately fasted for 10 days. So from that moment that my phone rang, for 10 days, I did not eat. And I got home that day. I ordered a quick blood glucose monitor test on Amazon. And, it comes with everything, the little poker, the strips, and the testing. It's all in one thing. It's only like 20, 30 bucks. It was only like 15 bucks back then, but I think it's more like 25 or 30 now. I should actually look it up, and I can take some tests on here, and we could see where I'm at because I'll get to it. So I fasted for 10 days. A couple days later, my little glucose meter showed up, and my blood sugar, even though I hadn't eaten, was still ridiculously high even after a couple days. It must have been like 500 the day I was sitting there eating that sandwich, because even a couple days later it was like 290 or 300. I can't remember. But then so I looked it up. What's a healthy blood sugar? Even though I already knew, because I had done a lot of I had mentioned in a previous video where I got into like all natural healing, and there's a website, but I don't want to name them, but you can look it up for just Google like natural cures for stuff, natural cure to anything, and just whatever you have, look up a natural cure for it, and at least do your own research and find some realize that there's options to surgeries and prescription medications. So I tested my blood sugar like every day, multiple times a day, because I was just curious, how fast is this fasting? How fast is the fasting going to reduce my blood sugar? It's not going to reduce your A1C from 11.2, because that's a 3-month like rolling average. The A1C is an abbreviation for a long word that I cannot pronounce, but it's a rolling average of your last 3 months, what your blood sugar would have been, because you have a replication rate of all the cells in your body, and they hold sugar. And the ones that were 3 months old, and the ones that were 2 months old, and the ones that are 1 month old, this test is averaging them all out, and it can tell pretty accurately what your A1C is. And you can get home test kit for that. I actually have one. Maybe I'll do that one of these days too. Maybe I'll do it right as I start my new mission coming up on Monday. Monday's video is going to talk all about it, and then Tuesday is the kickoff. So I fasted for 10 days, and at the end of the 10 days, my blood sugar was down to the bottom edge of normal. So it was right down to like 70. And I was like, wow, I had read about what to do. So I knew to do this, years before I knew to do this. If I ever get diabetes, because my dad had it and it ran in my family and grandparents and aunts and uncles and cousins. So I was, I wanted to make sure if I ever get that, I know what to do. So, but that's just your blood sugar. A1C, your A1C, if I would have tested that day, that's only 10 days later, it would have been significantly lower than 11.2, but it wouldn't have been back in the non-diabetic range, which I'm trying to remember those numbers. I think I'll look it up. I should have looked it up before I started this stream, but it's right around 5.6 or 7, all the way up to like 6. I can't remember now. I think over 6.5 is considered diabetic, and over so like under 6.5 all the way down to like 5.6 or 7 is pre-diabetic, and then under 5.6 is like non-diabetic. I might be a little off, but it's right around in that range. I might even look it up on my phone as we're going here. And anyway, so then I was like, all right, okay, I got to start my healthy diet. I didn't really do anything as far as working out. I just kept going to work, and I just fasted for 10 days and drank water. And I didn't take any electrolytes or salts or nothing, but that's something you might want to look into if you ever want to read about fasting. A lot of them talk about taking electrolyte salts, which I've had mixed results myself taking them. I didn't take them for this 10-day fast. I didn't even know about them at the time. So I had read a book too earlier before I got diabetes. And like I said, there's no need to name the diet. I mean, what combinations of food you eat, what does it need to have a name, a trendy name that some corporation can sell? It's just food. Just eat food. Eat healthy food. So this particular diet, though, and this is all biblical. None of these foods are like, for one, I mean, eat whole foods. If it wouldn't be even recognized as food, 100 years ago, I mean, definitely eat unprocessed food. And I know there's problems with the meat and and the pesticides and herbicides, but I mean, it's at least it's not processed. I mean, you buy a ribeye steak from a meat market, it's about as good as you're going to get. You could look into what farms they're getting it from and if they use antibiotics, and same with organic fruits and vegetables. So anyway, the 10-day fast got my blood sugar down to normal, completely normal range. So then I started eating, and I don't remember, I didn't really restrict calories, and I didn't do any kind of intermittent fasting. If everybody seems to know about that nowadays, like 16-8 is a real popular eating window where you fast for 16 hours a day and then you eat within an 8-hour window. Let's just say noon to 8. Say you eat between noon and 8 p.m. and then you don't eat again until noon the next day. That's 16-8. You keep your calories and your carbs into a reasonable range in that 8 hour window, and it's showing to be very beneficial for people's weight loss, especially if you do it like a very low carbohydrate diet, or the other name of the big one. I almost can't avoid using these names, but um, in conjunction with intermittent fasting and very low carb intake, you're going to lose weight very rapidly. But I didn't really care about that. I wanted to eat all the foods and eat everything normal, but with some kind of biblical guidelines as far as what what. So I ate breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and so I ate just any kind of meat. I don't eat pork and I don't eat much seafood, but just eat any kind of meat you want, uh, any vegetables you want. Um, you could eat some fruits, but if you limit the fruits, you're going to have better results with your blood sugar. And you can also look up low glycemic fruits compared to high glycemic fruits. And I can't even think of which ones are better off the top of my head, but like an apple is a lower glycemic fruit. Um, the veggies are all pretty low carb. I mean, there's a couple like peas have some starch in them, and corn has starch in it, eat raw vegetables. Eat like broccoli and celery and pea pods, and grill a steak, fry a steak, eat some vegetables. For a snack, have an apple, and then I eat nuts, berries, and melons, and the same thing. I don't know, are melons fruits? Anyway, same thing. Look up the glycemic index, and if you want to count calories, you can, but it's not that big a deal. Um, for the berries, like I didn't realize you can eat a whole, like, what is that, a quart or pint of strawberries? I mean, that is almost nothing. You can, and they're filling and delicious for a dessert, and I don't even think it's 100 calories, and it's very low carb, and it has B17, which is crazy good for you as well. And same with like, I think it was cantaloupe was one of the melons. Like I said, part of this channel is to encourage you to do your own research as well. Like I didn't, no doctor told me what to do. I had already done my own research and I knew what to do. So I fasted 10 days and I started eating breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And I started walking. I could say everything I stopped doing, but is it relevant? Is it really relevant to say what you're not going to do? I mean, I could tell you I didn't drink a beer for a year, but if you don't drink, well, it doesn't even matter to say that, and if you do, this is what you can do, and it's doable, and it was easier for me because I was afraid. And maybe that's why I didn't keep it off, and we'll get back into that too. As once this story finishes off, you'll kind of see what happened. But so like I said, January 1st of that year, I was 315 pounds. By January 23rd, I had lost about 15, 20 pounds. I was down to like 295, 300. The doctor calls me, says I have diabetes. I do my 10-day fast. If I go back to the doctor, he gives me the prescription for the metformin, which are diabetes pills that you take, and they lower your blood sugar significantly. And if you had to take, if I was unable to do it any other way, you're gonna die from diabetes. So, you got to do what you got to do. But in my opinion, it's like you're way better off doing it all natural and doing it, the healthy way, and the way that the earth has provided for us to heal our bodies. I mean, our bodies are just healing machines. They're just trying to heal themselves constantly from all the abuse we're putting on them, and we just don't give them a break to heal. And that's what that 10-day fast did. It just gave my body the rest, and I didn't have to digest any food, and it could just get rid of all that sugar and repair damaged tissue. So then I started walking, and I really started loving the walking. I don't remember if I started getting into the self-help books at this time, but I think it is. I think it was right around this time. I had already read a lot of self-help books, like the hardcover books, but by the time Audible had come out, and I had got into that, and then I started like going on walks and just listening to motivational books and dietary books, and one of the really good diabetic books. What is his name? Dr. Jason Fung. If you are pre-diabetic, you need to buy Dr. Jason Fungs, and I have no problem advertising him on this channel because he is so awesome. I hope hi- his work is just helping so many people. He's an Asian guy, but he's a Canadian nephrologist. So he's like a kidney specialist and diabetes doctor, and he realized that the the treatment is just not right. You have too much insulin is part of the diabetic's problem, and then they prescribe insulin. And so he realized, like, my God, this is why people are having so many, having much lower life expectancies with diabetes, and way higher rates of heart attacks and strokes and all this stuff. So anyway, he's got a couple books. I think it's called The Diabetes Code, and there's the other one called, I think it's called The Obesity Code, or Morbid Obesity, or Obesity Code, something like that. They're both pretty much the same because obesity is pretty much the pre-diabetes. The process that's happening in your body to store all this fat on your stomach um, is how you get diabetes. Like that's insulin resistance, and your body's just pumping out insulin and storing more fat, and you're just eating more carbs. And so yeah, within so between I did not cheat. I was dating a wonderful woman at the time, Holly, and she supported me as far as not we'd eat right, and go for walks, and then I started just want to walk around the block. And then I was like, hey, let's get I was in the military. I was in the Army, 82nd Airborne Division. I was a Fort Observer, and we did a lot of marching. So walking around the block, I'm like, hey, why don't I buy a pack and go out in the woods and hike? And that got me into hiking. It got me into backpacking, and it got me into long hikes. And then with the Audible books in my ear, I started, just like I said, just started walking for hours and hours and hours, and just loving it. Just putting down the pace, just humping up hills and drinking water, and it's just motivating. I felt so good. And so I went from 315 on that January 1st to down to 245 by like April. And then I kept it off for like, I didn't have an appointment right away. Like, I didn't make an appointment in April, but I know I was down to 245 by April, and I kept it off until whenever my next appointment was. And I don't think I had another one until like almost towards the end of the year, like October or something. So I go back to my diabetes doctor. I do the blood work one day, and I go back. And remember, I was at 11.2 A1C. Past the 10 days, ate the very basic diet and just stuck to it. You could eat all different kinds of meat, all different kinds of veggies, all different kinds of fruit, all different kinds of nuts, all different kinds of berries. It's a lot of different stuff to eat. It's not that restrictive. I didn't eat any, bread, pasta, rice, any carby stuff, and I limited the fruits. I barely ate any, like, bananas, or I'm trying to think of higher sugar fruits. I can't even think of mangoes or something, whatever the high fruit ones are. I knew at the time which ones were lower and higher on the glycemic chart, and I just bought lower glycemic fruits and just used them as like a snack, and I wouldn't eat them as part of a meal. So then I do my blood work, have my appointment, and my doctor is like flipping through the paperwork. He sees I lost a ton of weight, and he says, he sees the results of my A1C come back at, I want to say 6.1 or 6.4, somewhere in there. I think it was 6.1. So he was like, whoa. He's like, wow, what did you do? And I was like, well, I just, I didn't want to tell him I knew about diabetes, and, I knew what to do because, they think they know it, because he wrote me a prescription for the metformin. I just never went and got it. So he goes, you better stop taking your metformin. You don't need it anymore. And I said, yeah, I never took it. I went and got the prescription filled, but then I read about it, and one of the first line on the warning sheet when you get it, it says may cause ketoacidosis and death. And what? I know a 10-day fast ain't gonna cause death. So I went with that instead and wiped it out. And so I think I was probably around the 6.1 within 3 months, because that's a three, A1C is a 3 month rolling average. And I managed to stay the same weight. I was still 245 the 6 months later or whatever it was. Um, but like I talked about in some of my other videos with the goals, um, once I realized I was, cured, then I kind of backed off, and I was like, well, I could probably have a beer or two again and start enjoying life again. And to this day, I tell people I wish I would have never went back to the doctor and even found out what my A1C was, and just stuck with it and just got down to the 170 that I need to be. 180, 190, I'd probably I'd be super healthy and amazing. So that it was so simple. This video is going to be about a half hour here pretty soon, but it's important. It's so simple, but it's so important to know what to do. And if your doctor has told you that you're in that pre-diabetic range, um just start doing that. Just start doing Look up what you want to do, talk to your doctor. If you can find a good doctor, they might, if you read about fasting, it's e- extremely healthy for you. Don't ask me questions about fasting. Just look it up. I'm not going to answer any questions about fasting. If you haven't done the research, I'm not doing it for you. I'll show you in the coming videos, because I am going to do some fasting as part of um, the New Life Liftoff starting on Tuesday, and some intermittent fasting and this type of eating and low carb eating combined together. It's just extremely effective. And the big obstacle that I have to overcome, that I will overcome, that I believe I am going to overcome, is to maintain the weight loss. I've actually ballooned up a little bit. I think maybe subconsciously I'm kind of ballooning up, just because I'm gonna step back on Tuesday and I'm gonna have just some shorts on and I'm gonna show you. I got a huge stomach here. It's nothing. It's nothing six packy about it. Um, and then I'm gonna continue to do it. I'm gonna update you every day, about the plan that I'm doing, and I'll have a weigh in eventually. And I don't know if I'll weigh in every day, but maybe like every few days or every Monday or whatever day we pick. And you're gonna see just how effective this can be. And I should see if I have two A1C testers left. You can order them on Amazon. They're a little expensive, but you get like two or three in a pack. And they're very accurate. I've went back to the doctors, like I've tested them, and then like right before my appointments to see if they're the same, and they've come out to be exactly the same every time. Even though I've only been back to the doctor a couple times in the last 6 years since I had diabetes, I think maybe only two or three times. So last in one of my videos, previous videos here in the last week or two, I talked about looking at pictures of myself hiking and camping, and I was single at the time. And I say that because when I get into these relationships with these wrong people, which I take full credit now, I used to say, "Oh, these women are just ruining my life." It's like, Zach, you're choosing these women. You're choosing to just be in lust instead of finding somebody that's actually healthy for you. So I take full responsibility for doing that. But the point of that story was, when I'm single and I'm taking care of myself, I tend to, do the right thing. I tend to eat a lot better and fast more and intermittent fast more and drink less, and, dating women that want to drink more. And I'm like, well, okay, I love them and I'm going to do what they want to do just to appease them, and it's just, don't be doing that. And there's going to be some more videos about dating and my I guess it'll be like what not to do over the course of your life as far as marriage and dating. And like I said, I have nothing against any of my spouse, my mate people, my ex-wife or my ex-girlfriends. They're all wonderful women. I just I just picked the wrong woman for me every time. Some of them just out of convenience, and some of them out of lust, and some of them. I mean, I love them. I feel like I love them all in some meaningful way, but there's got to be some commonality and some interest. And now at 50, if you're a 50-year-old man and I'm trying to find a 50-year-old woman, and you're both single, there's reasons. It's not like you both were just angels your whole life and you just ended up single at 50 for no reason. So you really got to know where to set your boundaries and how to find the right mate for you. And the big part of that is to take care of yourself first and realize, nobody's going to make you happy. You got to make yourself, you got to be happy. You got to be in service to the Lord, doing the right thing, being healthy, being wealthy within within the budget that you have, not being sloppy with your finances, not being sloppy with your diet, and that's why it's health, wealth, happiness. In that final part of happiness, I mean, what does the Bible talk about? Uh, love is the faith, hope, and love, but the greatest of these is love. And from my perspective, the greatest thing about life is love, is to love somebody and to be loved by somebody is the most amazing experience. And I believe it's a large part of why we're here is for God to show us, how this is why we have parents and children and brothers and sisters, and to show these dynamics of God's love for us. So he's like giving us examples like, see, would you sacrifice your son, to save the world? Like he's given us all these cues, and he gave us the Bible. And like I said, please read the Bible. Yeah, dietarily, mental health, it's all in there. Hey, even fasting's in there. That's funny. I don't recommend fasting 40 days and 40 nights and being tempted by the devil and give you the world, but you're going to be tempted by the devil to give you the world anyway. And so you might as well figure it out. Man, I got to figure out something with those lights back there, don't I? Yeah, I think I've been looking into it. I got the walls here. I got like a big nature scene back here. I might like just turn it so the lights are more reflecting out the wall. Anyway, I digress. So that's the one about diabetes. It was not. It was more storytelling than the actual process of eliminating it, because it was just too easy. And then, what I was talking about the last 2 summers, I got in shape, then I dated a woman, and I got out of shape. Then I got in shape, and I dated another woman, and then I got out of shape, and that's where I am now. So that covers the last 2 years. Before that, I was dating another woman. It was a little healthier of a relationship, but it was off and on for 8 years. But I managed to maintain my health and fitness, at least at some level, without going up and down so bad like I have the last 2 years. So last summer, when I checked my A1C, and when I was down to like 220, I was feeling great. I was just working out, hiking with my shirt off in the sun. Getting that sunlight is so healthy for you, not drinking alcohol, not smoking, eating right. And I checked my A1C and it was 5.4, like non-diabetic. I had kept it in the very low pre-diabetic the whole 6 years that the American Diabetes Association considers if you have your A1C under 7, that you have it under control. And that's with shots and with metformin. And I had it way under that with none of the medications. So, I was like 6.1 to 6.4 range to that whole 6 years. And then last summer, I got it down to 5.4. And then I dated a woman all winter and I gained a bunch of weight. And then I started wanting to get fit again. But I checked my A1C. I was like, I know I'm not at 5.4. And I was back to 6.1. Still not bad. Still nowhere near 11.2. But so it's directly related to that beer belly. I mean, if especially like, you know what I mean? I'm not like built like a huge sack of potatoes. It's like it all goes right to my abdomen. And if you read about like fatty liver disease and like how your body stores fat, it's like this is a big sign of, man, you got to do something now. So I'm gonna cut this video off because when I launch on Tuesday, I'm gonna talk more about my weight and what diet I'm gonna start on and everything. So thank you guys for watching. This is a marathon video. I still don't have a live viewer or commenter or liker of the video, but take some deep breaths. Man, it really slows your heart rate down. Gets your mind in line with God, and this helps you let the stresses of the world go, and just focus on your breathing. It's the one thing you do unconsciously that you can do consciously. And that's why it's the connection to your unconscious. If you can become aware of your breath, you can start to influence your subconscious mind. And that's how you're going to be able to better help creating the new habits. You're going to start relaxing and meditating on God's will in your life. God wants you to be healthy, obviously. God wants you. Does the Bible say He wants you to be healthy and monetarily sufficient? That He's going to take care of you. That all these things will be added unto you if you will just follow Him. Like, you don't need to try so hard to chase the things of this world. If you would just chase Jesus Christ, those things would be added unto you, and into an amount that, for one, you won't even care about them anymore, because you'd be serving the right God. You won't be serving money. You'll be serving the Lord. God bless you guys. Thanks for watching. Come back again.